Hey everyone, I just wanted to showcase my build that I've been playing here in the, I don't know, I think it's called Pharisha, I think is how you pronounce it, league, uh, based on the Scavenger, and it is a cast on crit Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice build. It's not technically my own build. There was one other guy playing this before me that I saw on PoE Ninja, but his build was pretty inefficient, especially in like pathing and everything. But the general idea of being able to get Soul Sacrifice to work on Scavenger came from this guy in particular. I haven't scripted anything here. I'm just gonna more or less explain this in a rambly way. But basically, the entire build revolves around the fact that the Scavenger gains access to Chevron's wrappings without having to use Chevron's wrappings, because without this would be... Because with having to run Shavs is terrible. It's a terrible chest. Absolutely awful. I really hope GGG just adds Scavenger to the base game after this league. It's by far the coolest ascendancy that they added for this league. Maybe nerf it a bit, maybe swap out some of the uniques. This build also kind of dies if the Void Battery also leaves, but I think you could probably run a similar build on Occultist instead. You could probably run the same thing on Occultist instead of Scavenger, but if you have to use Shavs, then the build just sucks. It's just not worth it without, because then you just don't get enough ES. Anyway, then you also have Zephy's Heart, which makes your chaos damage can ignite and chill, which is just a nice bonus. It's just an extra like 18% damage taken. I think that's about like the shock that I get against most like places where it matters. Yeah, it's not that big here. If you can somehow balance your in strength and dexterity, you could also go leadership's price here, and it'd also be quite good. But oh wait, no you can't because that's elemental only. So no, this is basically the only thing you can go. But it's nice. The chill is also good as well. Yeah. So it's basically just built around that, and being able to use a Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice, which is just a better version of Forbidden Rite. Completely all around, it is just better. It scales better, and it alleviates a lot of the issues that Forbidden Rite has. The only issue with it has one extremely insurmountable thing 90% of the time, and that is because Soul Sacrifice costs life. This is a big positive and also a huge negative for the build. In general, is that it costs 46 life, and this is multiplied by your links, of course, so it ends up costing like, I don't know, 134 life. So we are triggering this 10.1 times every single second. That is almost 1,000, like, and I think it's like 1,340 or something times 10.1. It's, yeah. We have to be regaining this much life every second to not miss a trigger. And that also means we also have to have life unreserved, which means we also can't go CI to block the damage either. This is the big issue with Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice. The difference between it and regular Forbidden Rite is that this one deals 15% of your maximum energy shield as chaos damage, instead of I think it's much lower on regular Forbidden Rite. If I check real quick, I think it's regular Forbidden Rite only does 5% of your ES. So this is 3x the damage compared to regular Forbidden Rite. Obviously, the other one also does your life, but almost every regular Forbidden Rite build goes CI, which means they have no life either. So the only scaling on the skill is the 5% of your maximum ES. That's why Forbidden Rite is so strong, is because you can scale your defensive to make you also deal more damage. It's the same idea with like Ephemeral Edge, Blind Prophet / Tricksters that are really popular right now. And the biggest issue with regular Forbidden Rite is the mana cost. How do you get your mana cost low enough so that you can actually have a bunch of auras? Because you're also CI, so you can't reserve your life either when you're regular Forbidden Rite. So with Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice, now only thing we need to solve is our life. How do we gain 1.3k life every single second? Well, one thing also, we are also running Ghost Reaver. So we're not using Leech. That's another thing. When you have Ghost Reaver, and we also have Zealous Oath. So also our life, we're also not using life regen. So what do we have left? There is pure life gain on hit, like on this node here. This gains 4 life. This is not converted. This is given directly to your life pool. Then there's also Recoup. Recoup is not converted. This is another positive of not being CI. The skill also deals damage to you every single time it is cast. We are taking 5,032 chaos damage every single cast. And if we do the math real quick, this is 5,032 times 10.1. We're taking 50,823 chaos damage every single second. We have 75 chaos res, so we multiply this by 0.25. This means we're taking 12,705 chaos damage every second. We have 18, 6, and 6, so that's 30% recoup. So we multiply this by 0.3. We recoup 3,811 life over 4 seconds, because recoup is over 4 seconds. So we divide this again by 4. This gives us 952.9 life every second recouped. That's not enough. We need another like 400-ish life. So where are we getting this? The last way we're getting it is a Vitality and Discipline energy shield. So this is, the energy shield is really nice for survivability because it also counteracts the damage that we're taking, because we're taking 12,000 damage every single second too. Like, we kind of have to get that back. A lot of that is coming from instant leech, from energy shield instant leech, but this Discipline on Hit Watcher's Eye is kind of necessary. You can replace the Vitality life gain on hit with a Claw, but then you can't use a Dagger, and daggers are just generally better because they have access to spell damage and plus level, etc. But you can replace this with a Claw with a life gain on hit implicit, and then you'll easily be able to cover the costs of life, and you don't need this Prismatic Jewel. I bought this for about 8 divine at the time. Right now, almost all of them are like 15 plus, but that's just because there's almost like no one online anymore. I'm pretty sure you could probably haggle it down to maybe 10, and then just divine it yourself to get 2 high rolls. The one that matters the most is the life, because with this life, because this also procs on spells, by the way. So you could proc this on spells. Another way to get around it would be to use Shaper Rings with spell life gain on hit. That's the other way, because your spells are hitting more than your Cyclone does, because your Cyclone's only hitting once, and because we're using Volley, this gives multiple projectiles that also hit. So if we add this like to this, my Watcher's Eye gives me 28 life gain on hit. We're hitting we're hitting like 10 times a second, so that's just more like 280, plus let's just say like 2 projectiles hit out of like this 6 that it shoots. Let's just say 2 hit, so we multiply this by 3, because one's Cyclone and the other 2 is Forbidden Rite, so that's 840 plus the 950 from before. We have more than enough life per second to cover the costs. So now this spell at this point is basically free. We don't need to worry about mana costs or anything. The spell will now just work. And now all we have to do is cover the damage we're taking a second. So what we have here now is energy shield regeneration as well. We're regenerating over 1,300 a second, and every time we hit something, we are creating a leech instance, and 10% of that is then also being leeched. With Ghost Reaver, the amount is doubled, and so we have 140%, that is doubled to 280%. So we have 280% maximum total recovery leech, and I think the base is 10, so we can recover from one leech instance 228% of our energy shield can cover 28% of our energy shield. 10% of that is instant, so every hit will heal us for 2.8% of our ES. And if we pop into POB, this is pretty close to what it seems to be with regen and everything. This is not correct. I do not understand why. Oh, yeah, because we're in Frost Shield. If we take off Frost Shield, it's like 1.39, and we're also on we are definitely always on Consecrated Ground, especially against bosses because of Zealotry. We're always going to be on Consecrated Ground. We also have Bottled Faith. And so that's like 2,000, turn on Frost Shield, and it's 1.2k. So then we also have, this is the ES on hit. With all the, this is with, because if it's all primary projectiles, if it's not, it's like 5k. But we're hitting at least 3 plus our regular hit. So whatever this number is here, this is of course with leech and on hit. I think it should be around 7-8k. So we're not actually covering the damage it's dealing to us with leech. And that's where this flask comes in. 15% of damage taken from hits is leeched as life. We are converting that leeched life into leeched ES. And what this basically does, and then also 10% of that is instant. So what this ends up doing is converting, basically every time we cast, we're doing this much damage to ourselves, divided by 4. This is how much damage we're taking in chaos damage. 15% of this is leeched back to us, so we get 188 back, and then we multiply this by 10%, by 0.1, and we have basically we get 20 ES back. So this is basically every time we cast, we get 20 ES back immediately. This also counts for everything that hits us as well. We are always getting 1% of the damage we are taking back to us instantly, and 9% of it is also leeched back to us over time. So you get a lot of this rubber banding going on. And finally, we also have this regenerate 3% of life per second as well. So this is more or less how we counteract the entire like Forbidden Rite self-damage as well as like the life costs. And from my testing, like I've done an Uber Shaper. I haven't done really any Uber bosses with the build yet, but I just did one before. I did a Deathless, and I face tanked everything. I just put down Frost Shield, stood on top of Shaper, and just spun. I didn't move. I didn't dodge anything, and I was able to just tank everything. And my ES never really dipped low, except post Shaper Slam. It was really low. It's pretty close. I think I live with like about 1,500, 2,000 ES after the Shaper Slam. Like obviously there's builds that are way tankier than this. And also for the similar investment, we'll probably do more damage, but be a bit clunkier. The main selling point of cast on crit cyclone stuff is that it's just really smooth to play. You just hold down the one button and just go. Another quick caveat. This build does not need a Mageblood at all. It is a huge damage boost. I will show just a quick comparison. I have 2 POBs. This one is 53 million DPS, and the other one is 30 million. This is no Mageblood and is significantly cheaper, and even has higher max hits. As you can see, it's slightly better. In terms of it has even more ES and stuff. It's slightly tankier. The difference is that it's slower because we don't have the Onslaught Flask, and it cannot hit the CDR cap. It's just not possible. Hitting the CDR cap is possible to hit the 10.10, but it's so much work to get that 10 attacks per second. I don't think it's worth doing. This one has much less of an issue with upkeep of life. It allows you to forego the life gain on hit, Watcher's Eye. This is also using a claw, so this is also significantly less damage. Yeah, so basically that's more or less like the two different builds. This is like, one is using Tithe of Time to have permanent flask uptime, and that's why it also has higher max res. This one has evasion, so it's better like for mapping and stuff. You'll dodge a lot of stuff pretty nicely. But like, this is more or less the build I ran to 98 before I got my Mageblood, and even then it already felt really good. I started playing the build at level 91. I would not recommend playing it any earlier than that, because you just need a shit ton of passive points to play this build. It's just almost not possible to play it like with less mastery points. It's just passive points, not mastery points. Yes. Also, there's a lot of the notables and stuff that I've spec'd into are quality of life. You can definitely pump like another like 20 to 30% more damage if you select a few different nodes. If you just want to be like pure bossing and whatnot, but I have the passive tree set up so that it feels as good as possible. So yeah, so I don't really. I've done like one tier 17 with the build, and I just did an Uber Shaper, because I've basically just been running Harbinger 24/7, because I've just like a pure Harbinger setup. That's how I've been making like the currency. It's how I got my Mageblood with this, using this build. Like, I started with 0. I spent 30 divines to get it going, I think, like including this chest. I started with this chest. All my gear is self-crafted except for the chest. I did buy the chest for like 6 div. I bought this shield I bought the non-synth 25% quality base for I think 1 div, and then just spam essences on it till I hit like 80, till I just hit a big number. I think it was like 400, over 400. Then I hit tier 2 at int, which is really good, and then I slammed lightning after I crafted the percent ES life, and then I also slammed the regen. The regen doesn't matter. It's like 50 ES. It's like 70 ES. It's not a big deal. It's nice. It does something, but it's not big. Then I just threw it on the harvest bench, synthed it, and I happened to hit 22% increase ES. Super lucky. That's just lucky. Like, it could be a completely useless mod like increased evasion. Could have just been increased evasion, but it happened to hit ES, which took it from like a 415 ES shield to 463, which I think is like 5 or 6 crit multi because of the passive here. Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 crit multi. It's not a huge deal. It did give me like an extra like 200, 300 ES, but doesn't like. The boots, these are Shaper Crusader boots. The only reason they're Shaper and Crusader is because both of them can roll 15% cooldown recovery rate, and it increases the chances of rolling it. I think it makes it a 1 in 40 on like a Chaos Orb to hit the tier 1 cooldown recovery rate. This needs to be 15% if you want to go for the 10 attacks per second cooldown breakpoint, because you can't use the belt. You do need a level 6 cast on crit. I corrupted this myself. Got lucky. Because it needs to be level 9, and then you also need 1 jewel with 3% cooldown recovery rate as well. I also self-crafted this. This is really easy to make. Like, you just alteration spam for the 3% CDR on an 86 searching Idol, because this has the highest weighting or the highest percent chance of rolling cooldown recovery rate. And then you just, hopefully the other mod is good. And you just keep going until you get good mods. Took me like 1k ults to get a decent Watcher's Eye. Helps that when you're doing Harbinger, you have a shit ton of Regals and Annuls and stuff to, you know, and Exalts just to get good stuff. Yeah. So, again, here I just slammed Essences, because Essences of War are super cheap this league. They're like 1-to-1 on Chaos. So I just bought hundreds and hundreds of them and just slammed until I got something good. Here, these boots are not great. I mean, they are. Kind of. Like, the essence is good, but if this was if the first the prefix was percent ES, it'd be insane. But I just haven't. I sadly hit the hybrid. It's not even nearly as good. But to compensate, I hit tier 1 int in the suffix. I think if this was percent ES instead of tier 1 int T1, like if like we would just swap the two, it would be comparable. I think it's exactly this. I think it's like it's within like 100 ES of each other, so it's basically as good. So like these can definitely get better. There's this build. This is one of the main things. You can just chuck money at it, and it'll keep getting better. These gloves, I bought the fractured base, and then again same deal. Here I dense fossiled, and I hit triple tier 1 really easily. I believe this is not the best. The best would be, again, hybrid percent instead of hybrid flat. But, I mean, this is already pretty good. And then it happened to roll int as well on this suffix. Because we're not using any, like, elemental flasks, or even, like, the suffix that gives you resistances on your flasks, it's I need this cold and fire res to cap or to overcap for curses. The rings aren't really anything special. They're just energy shield rings with a lot of res, one with chaos and one with just another high tier like elemental res. On the non-Mageblood build, you can literally just run naked rings. You can have nothing on them. It literally doesn't matter, because you're running instead of grace, you're running purity of elements. You have elemental flasks. You'll have like 200% all res. Like, you'll be way overcapped. You just need some chaos res on the rings, and you're already done. So like on like the cheaper build, you really don't need like these rings. These rings were like about 4 div each at the time. These rings are like now astronomically expensive because no one's making rings like this. I don't even know how you would go about crafting one of these. You probably would want to start with like a fractured base, like with like a fractured resistance, and then just go from there and just hope and pray. From playing this game, I think the high ES is a really common role, or like the weighting is really good for it. The evasion roll is nice because we are running evasion with like grace and the 2 flasks, but it's not a big deal. Presence of Chiliulia, this is like the biggest waste of a slot at the moment. All this thing does is basically give you a few thousand I think it gives you like 2,000 ES, 60% chaos res, and it gives you the cannot be stunned. Great. It's kind of good. Be it you could drop like some evasion. You could drop the percent evasion and avoid being stunned. That fixes your stun. You can just get more chaos res on your gear. It's completely possible. Like, none of my gear has chaos res on it except for this ring to fix your chaos res, and that would also fix the build. Or you can even swap like the Jade Flask for like a Chaos, like an Amethyst Flask and stuff, and then you also fix your Chaos resistance.
So then you wouldn't need that either. And then the 24% life converted to energy shield, you just get percent ES on an amulet, and then you can get like a plus spell amulet instead, which would add a shit ton of damage. It would increase the life cost, so you'd have to make sure you're actually still keeping up in the life cost. It would also, that's basically it. That's all it would do. Whatever. Oh yeah, this helmet, you need +1 power charge. Otherwise, you cannot hit 100% crit chance on your Cyclone. Even like, I mean, there is a way. I think if you path here and take this wheel here, it is 4 points that you lose without running it, and then I think that gets you crit capped. I think it's very close. It's like, because this is 85% crit, and I think each power charge is 60% crit. I think. Yeah, it's like 58% crit. Yeah, it's 58% crit. So you're very close. So it's not super important. I mean, it's also more damage as well because it gives you crit multi, gives you spell damage from Void Battery and all that. The percent increased life, mana, and global energy shield also matters because you want to have enough unreserved life here to be able to cast Forbidden Rite of Self-Sacrifice. I think the optimal way to do it would be to have enough for exactly 2 casts. I can't get that because then I think you don't skip any triggers at the start because then your recoup will have come back already to fix it. This is only for like your ramp at the beginning. Once you've got your recouped ramp, it doesn't matter. But I think because then you just need to make sure that you have enough life. That's why we also take this. I mean, this gives energy shield and chaos res, but like it also gives life, which isn't really good on this build. But you do need a certain amount of life unreserved to cast Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice. So there is another way to fix that, and it's to not have your arrogance linked to your precision and just put precision on your mana instead. This precision is also completely like optional. This level 1 precision, all it does is give us 20, like I think it gives us like 30% crit or something. I don't know how much aura effect I have. I think we have 20. This gives 25. It says 45. 55. Then we have 70 devotion. So we have 62% aura effect. So this gives like 34% crit chance or something. It is absolutely negligible. It is only there because it's an extra slot and it doesn't impede on my casts. So on top of that, we have 1 cast stun damage taken setup, which is max leveled because I mean, it doesn't need to be 21. It can be 20. It depends on like what level your curses are. This is how we're proccing Assassin's Mark and Despair. To cast these, you need to have enough mana, of course, and they are cast at the same time, so you need whatever their mana cost is combined. So this would be 184 mana. I have 206. This makes it so I can always cast them. Because I will always be max mana because I have 6% of damage taken is recouped as mana. That is a shit ton. Like it's like 600 mana a second or something because of Forbidden Rite dealing damage to us. We then also have a non-change with a -7 to total mana cost. This is just to get it lower so we can actually have more mana reserved. Then we have an automation steel skin. This is just to deal with bleed. We do have a CB jewel somewhere here. This isn't like the best CB jewel. I bought this like for like 2 div or something. I just needed 1. So this is what gives us bleed immunity because this will just proc all the time. Costs like it's like 6 mana or something. Costs like nothing. If I remember correctly. No, it costs actually nothing. It costs 4 mana because it has no multiplier. Oh no, it does. It is 50%. Never mind. So yeah, it is 6 mana. It costs 6 mana to cast. Easy to do. So this is just how we handle bleed, because degens are really bad for this build. Because degens basically can end up killing you, because all of a sudden your regen might be right what your tipping point would be to dealing more damage to yourself than you're getting back. Poison is much less of an issue because we have 75% chaos res, but we only have 4 endurance charges through Enduring Composure for bleed, so that's only 16% reduced. That's why we make sure we have to be some form of bleed immune. The non-Mageblood version has an even easier way to become bleed immune. You don't even need steel skin. You just use a bismuth flask with the immunity to bleed and corrupted blood to just have permanent bleed and corrupted blood immunity. And finally, there's just the dagger. This is a standard cast on crit dagger. You can improve this by having +1 all spell or +1 chaos. +1 all spell would be better because it would increase your auras, but like I didn't have the currency to make that. This was to hit. I had the fractured tier 1 crit multi to hit T1 attack speed and T1 crit chance with the spell damage essence is a 1 in, I think it's like a 1 in 1k. You do not need you don't need tier 1 crit chance though. I think tier 3 is enough. And then you just need an open prefix to craft. Hits can't be evaded. And then the knife is done. You just slam an Exalted Orb and hope that you hit like hybrid spell damage or +1 all spells or +1 chaos. Really unlikely, but that's like the best outcome. And then you have the implicit. There is a chaos damage with hits is lucky. That sucks because Forbidden Rite has like no range at all. This is like it's like a 0% damage increase. It's like at most it'll give you like if it were always to high roll instead of low rolling, it's like a 5% more damage. But that's not even like how it works. It's even less than that. It's like 2% more damage. So the percent spell damage is just better in all cases. I think now that's everything explained. I mean, there's just we are ailments immune through it. Avoid shock with Storm Shroud. When in the non-Mageblood build, we run Purity of Elements instead. Anything else that's special? All right, for Wither. Originally, I ran spell totems casting Wither, which is really sucks balls. We take the Chaos Mastery, 5% chance to inflict Wither, to get 15 Wither buffs instead. This I don't think you even need this anymore. You could swap to the +1 all Chaos skill gems because you're never actually using the skill, so that the lose 10% of energy shield and life doesn't matter. You can also go for +1 max chaos resistance to make yourself take less damage. The 10% more damage to enemies that have energy shield is also good because almost every important enemy has energy shield. Like all the bosses and stuff, they all have energy shield, and you're never gonna break it because you only deal chaos damage, so you always pen their energy shield anyway. But I just have this just to be sure that I hit 15% because we are using this cluster. This cluster was AIDS. This is probably like the most difficult combination of skills to get, and it's the only way you can get Wicked Paul and Overwhelming Malice in the front. I think this is the only way to get it. No, wait, there is one more complicated where there's another one, and that one has even a lower chance of rolling. So I bought this cluster, Fractured, for 1 div, and then spent about 3 divs in alts, Alt Regaling, and Exalt Slamming. Exalt Slamming made it more expensive. If you would just do Alt and Regal, it's like it takes like 2,000 alts and like 70 regals to hit this exact combination when Unholy Grace is Fractured. There is another way you could do this. I think it's Overwhelming Malice with let me see what it is in the cheaper POB. it is with Grim Oath. If you can just get these two, then Overwhelming Malice is in the front, and you just take the standard 12% chaos damage. It's not a big deal. The 5% increased skill effect duration is not a big deal. This only affects Withering Steps Wither. It does not affect regular Wither, because it is not caused by the Wither we're actually inflicting now is not caused by a skill. So we're using Overwhelming Malice. This converts all our physical damage to chaos damage. We don't really care about that. All it does is change. It makes our Cyclone deal chaos damage. So it makes our Cyclone deal a bit more damage. But it gives us it makes it so that we have 25% chance to apply Withered on hit. We are hitting, on average, assuming our Forbidden Rite is hitting like a super small enemy, this shoots like 6 projectiles or something. I think it's 6. No, it's 5. It shoots 5 projectiles. And on average, it's like 2 or 3 that overlap. Plus our Cyclone is also hitting. So, to calculate that, we're hitting 10.1 times a second. Our Cyclone is hitting once, and our Forbidden Rite is hitting 2 to 3 times. So this is like times 3.5. This is how many hits we're doing every second. Then we divide this by 4. So we're applying 8.8-ish withers every second on average. This is obviously on average here. But, like, so this is like, it's like on average. So if we multiply this by 2, because Wither lasts on average 2 seconds. Well, not on average, it lasts 2 seconds by default. We do have Wither, you inflict fires, it expires 12% slower. This means it lasts 2.24 seconds. So we are inflicting 17.67 withers on average every second. Over the duration. This means we are always wither capped against enemies that we're constantly hitting. Very important. So this is why I think this is kind of unnecessary. But the nice part is, like, with this, because we're hitting so many withers, it's very often that we're just gonna hit 15 wither debuffs, and then it's just done. You don't have to like second guess yourself. This will just guarantee it. So that's why Overwhelming Malice here is so important. What I originally had here was I think it's Touch of Cruelty. I think, yeah, it's called Touch of Cruelty, where they take 10% increased damage if they're hindered by spells, and then conflict hindered. That is a DPS increase over this, but then you have to run Wither Totems. And if you're running Wither Totems, that's a DPS loss, because setting up the totems is a DPS loss. So I think this is better. It makes the build smoother. I think this is the optimal node here. If you want to be, setting up Wither Totems to be optimal and whatnot, because you basically what you would do is do Withering Step, inflict 8 withers, and then use the Wither Totems to get the rest of the 7, and then hope the enemy's dead before the original 8 run out from Withering Step. I think that sucks. So I think that version sucks. And then you definitely need this node to be able to keep up your withers. So that's more or less everything, I think, with the build. We have like 38k evasion, which is pretty damn good. We recover 2% energy shield on kill, so while mapping, we're basically always full ES. I think there is definitely a way you could swap this. I would not use Aegis, because like with Mageblood, you can run like, instead of Grace, you run Determination, double armor flasks, then you throw on an Aegis and whatnot. You lose so much ES, and then you still have to take Lancing Blows. Then you have to swap out Flesh and Stone for Tempest Shield and all that jazz. I don't think it's worth, but I think what you could do is swap out Flesh and Stone for Tempest Shield and get a Shaper Shield with recover 5% of ES when you block. Then get a very large Thread of Hope here and hit Glancing Blows, and maybe like this or something. Or I don't know, I can't remember exactly where it passed through, but yeah, I think that would be another option. That's definitely an option. And I think that might be the tankier version, because then you can run with that shield. You then run double armor flasks instead, and then I think you're actually tankier, because then you'll have like, I think you'll have like 60-60 block or something, and you'll recover 5% of your ES every time you block. I think that's probably the most optimal version of this build. You will lose some ES though, because synth shields just by far have the best. Oh yeah, if you're really rich, +1 power charge shield would be the best shield implicit. That's by far the best. Most damage, bar none. Also makes your capping your crit chance easier. So, and then there's also our Militant Faith. Because we don't care about the mana costs, we can just take plus all res instead of reduced mana costs. Makes getting the Militant Faith also cheaper. I got this for like 1 div. And there's multiple places you can put it. This is like the optimal spot because that has the most nodes for devotion, but you can also put it here. And then just take Gnostic instead. But I think mine, if I think I put it here, it converts some stuff. So yeah, I put it there. Other than that, of course, we're low life, obviously. This node is really important for your evasion, because it gives you increased evasion per 5 int, because we're stacking int. That's why we're taking this wheel. If a lot of your gear doesn't have int on it, do not take this wheel. It's actually better to take any other like energy shield like nodes on the tree. Like I think even these nodes are better, and even this wheel is better here. Which also takes me to, if you're on the non-Mageblood version, you're taking energy from within here with this wheel. This gives like 3,000 ES or something. Really good. Really good. Gives a lot of ES. Because you don't need a CB jewel, so that frees up 1 slot anyway, and you also don't need Storm Shroud, so you get another free slot. And you're using this bismuth to get your bleeding immunity. By far the best way to do it. So yeah. I think I'll just do a showcase of... I mean, other than that, I think there's not much else in this build to talk about. Just making sure that there's nothing. Here you could even take like a different pair of boots. You could take like the evasion ES ones with implicit resistances. I can't remember what the two-tone boots. Would also be a good idea if you're struggling with res and you're on the Mageblood version. So I think we'll just do the Uber Shaper first. Just to, just to show like the tankiness and like more or less like the damage of the build.
I see you, little one.
So I'm pretty sure like
Here. Run along.
damage wise, like there's definitely better builds for damage. Like there's also like purely the ramp part of it. Like you have to have like all your power charges up. You need to have even your endurance charges need to be up because those give damage as well in the level 100 version of the build. Not in this one because they're not taking the charge damage node. And then there's also, getting your wither charges up and stuff. Obviously, if you just instantly withering step as well, the ramp will be much faster, but it's just not much of a point to do that. So here we're hitting like 12% chance to. Oh, here. So here we have 18. You gotta make sure you don't kill yourself against like enemies that have like no HPs and you're not reaching anything. But as you can see, like the energy shield never actually dips down low as long as you're actually hitting something that you can leech from, which sucks because you cannot leech maps, of course.
This is your final warning. You force my hand.
So again, in these like times when I'm waiting, I usually unsocket my thing just to keep up my endurance charges, because otherwise you're gonna lose them. So here we die because I'm tanking like the balls plus the beam, If I were just standing in only the slam, I would have been able to like survive it. Of course, I dodge every ball when not moving, but of course. So here I'll definitely live, just barely. But I think being able to take like Uber Shaper Slam when you don't actually have that much physical damage reduction is pretty. I think it's probably the most tanky cast on crit build I've ever played. There's definitely like tankier other builds and stuff. Like, you can probably just play if you were to play like the same build with maybe like an Energy Blade Inquisitor and whatnot that isn't using cast on crit for Bin Rite. It'll probably be tankier with like a bit less damage because you're not like dealing any self damage to yourself. But
Behold the
like
face of
tanking
your
pure Shaper Slam is definitely awesome,
Let me help you.
as you saw before.
The horror
But like
must
I
be
can't
stopped.
just stand on top of everything.
Obstacles destroyed.
And there's that too.
Ambivalence.
See, now it even says I committed
Death.
suicide because
I
I
find it
because I just put up my Frost Shield too late. So you definitely need Frost Shield to like tank like Shaper Slam.
Irrelevant.
Find a way back quickly.
But like I self-leveled the build to like 90 to 99 from 91. I did use 5 ways to get it to 91 because I could not be arsenal with anything else. And from 91 to 98, I think the only ways I died were from reflect and not reading, or because you can do reflect element maps, no problem, because you don't actually deal any elemental damage except from your frost blink. And there, I think I died like 3 times from frost blinking into a pack of monsters because I forgot to turn off to unsocket my frost blink.
These memories
So that's
are mine.
definitely like a thing.
I cannot lose them.
They lie to you, Father. I'm your true memory.
To save the future, the past must be sacrificed. Gaze
Failure.
So
Ambivalence.
like double shaper ball, also bad. It's a really bad showcase. I'm really playing like a donkey. Or maybe I was just lucky the time before. Why are these?
irrelevant.
Anyway,
He's been
I mean that's just more or less the showcase. Be playing like a brainlet. Oh yeah, there's something I also forgot to talk about. The Pantheon. Because we're taking damage all the time, this is good. 6% reduced elemental damage taken. It's basically like 1.5 endurance charges. You also have 1% increased physical damage reduction all the time because you have at least one nearby enemy, and while you're mapping, it's 8% usually. Just nice. You avoid chain, so anything where like a map has like chaining projectiles and stuff, it's good. And then the avoid projectiles is also just nice. Then you have Grokthul, which gives you 5% damage reduction because you're definitely being hit 10 times. Just you're getting hit 10 times a second, so you have 5% additional damage reduction from that. So with our 4 endurance charge, which is 16%, plus this is 1%, 17, plus another 5. So you have 22% physical damage reduction and a total of 22% elemental damage reduction on top of like everything else. Unlucky. I guess another thing to showcase, I guess, would be like a map. I don't know. This looks doable, I guess. No idea. And they'll just use regular. I'm not going to put any scarabs here because this is going to take like forever to run. I think this map is reduced AoE, so that's kind of bad for like overlaps. But like for I think for Mac it's probably fine. My filter's pretty bad because I've been running Harbinger and then just using Never Sinks, like very strict filters. This is probably kind of bad for this. It's going to show a lot of stuff, but just not worth showing, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we also have temp chance that lowers our damage as well. Let's run Consecrated Ground. This is more or less like the content that I've been running with the build. Like I think it's better probably other content because Harbingers in general, they don't use any attacks. It's almost all spells that are like flying at you 24/7. And we're not actually like producing it because we don't have spell suppression or anything. So there's that too. Pretty sure that there's a way to like get spell suppression on this build by going to evasion bases and whatnot. You'll probably lose like 2,000 to 3,000 ES or something, but you could get like full spell suppression and whatnot. Even more evasion innately. So you don't even have to run blast in the front, maybe you can run like armor with it. But yeah. Like I don't know. I'm not a big fan of tier 17s in general. I don't like how like they work and stuff. I don't like the mechanics. It's like super restrictive to a lot of builds. Personally, I just think this is a fun build. It's a fun build to tinker with. It's just you can keep throwing money at it, and it does keep getting better. It keeps getting tankier. It keeps getting more damage and all that kind of jazz. But I think like for how much money I put into it, there's definitely more just benefits. I think so far, I think I've invested, if we count the Mageblood, which I bought for 110 div, I think at the time. I think the entire build I spent about like 200 div, with including Mageblood. I think for 200 div, it's pretty good. But like you can like just drop the Mageblood, go Tides of Time, and for like 100 div, you can basically just get like almost like similarly good like build going. Again, I didn't really check the mods on this map. I think these mods might be probably pretty easy. Yeah, because we avoid the chained projectiles and stuff because of the Pantheon and stuff. I think this is just a really easy map. I'm just gonna go to the boss at this point because like the rest of the map's just gonna be the same. So it should be pretty quick to kill. Let's like fucking find it. Man, layouts in this map is sick. It's like I'm not even sure. Pretty sure all these like things that show up are just there. For like oh yay! I was hoping to fight the boss with yeah, so weird. Where the hell is the boss, man? Who designed these maps, man? PoE 2 team. Dude, where is the boss? I have to say that like this layout is still one of the better ones with the tiers. What is this, dude? It's so ugly. It's also ugly. That's another thing. Oh, this is the Lycia fight. I have no idea how this build. I know this build. I don't even know how this goes. Here.
I will bathe this world in blood.
This is like the wave push. And committed suicide. I should probably have done that. Yeah, I do not know this fight at all. It's just the only T17 I had on me at the moment because I've been running Defiled Cathedral trying to get my Scry onto Strand because Strand is just the much nicer layout, plus it's not dark because I'm not taking the light radius node that converts it to ES, which I would recommend doing if you're actually running like Defiled Cathedral, I would just take it, drop some damage node, and just take the light radius node. Because sitting in the dark 24/7 sucks. It's also really straining on the eyes. But yeah, I do not know this fight at all. I think I have to kill like the demon or something, so it just stops the phase. I have the mana siphoners really suck because our Cyclone mana cost isn't 0. So okay, I can go over now. Yeah.
You know this.
Hey, look, a Shaper Shield on that thing. No, it's Thorium. Who cares? Seriously. Anyway. Don't really care about the rest of it anyway. Alright, so that's that. I don't know. Personally, I think the build is pretty good. It's fun. I would definitely play it again in another league where it's not this idle stuff. Because personally, I don't really like the idols that much. Like, it's fine, but I'd rather play regular endgame. So yeah, that's more or less it. So in the description, I'm gonna put like the 2 POBs and like how like the build works and whatnot. I think if you like play with like a bit more brain on, the build can easily function in tier 17s and whatnot, and against like uber pinnacle bosses and stuff. If you play brain off, like I just showcased, you're gonna die, but like not to the point where you can't complete the content. So no idea how it is versus Rogue Exiles, considering I'm pretty sure Rogue Exiles have insane max fizz hits, so you're probably fucked there, because I think this build only has like max 30k fizz, something like that, which is maybe enough. Maybe against Rogue Exiles it's not as bad because like they don't hit like Shaper Slam 24/7, but they hit pretty fast, but fast hits are like easier to avoid. Plus you have a lot of evasion, maybe you just avoid. I don't know. Haven't done Rogue Exiles. Probably won't do it because I'm more or less done with the league. So yeah, just to show, maybe I'll show. Hold on for a second. Let's just dump this. I don't know. Where were we? Here. So here's more or less what I was running. So here's like the Tides of Time. This is what I ran until like all the way up to level 98 because I wasn't even able to get my Mageblood until then. This is what I was running. So this is like the immunity to bleed and corrupted blood. This is like 100% uptime. I had a Megalomaniac with Special Reserve and Spike Concoction. I also had this one with Vast Power, Spike Concoction, Quick Getaway. This is really good. Doesn't really exist. Like if you find a really good Megalomaniac, take that instead. Otherwise, just create a medium cluster with Special Reserve and Spike Concoction on it, and then just throw in another jewel. I think that's actually more DPS than this, but Vast Power is really nice for the area of effect. So that's just a nice one. But otherwise, you can just run like this. 50% hits leeches life. Instead of curse effect here, I would take the regen because it's a lot of ES. It's like 607, almost 700 ES a second. So that's a lot. Counters poison really well. Just movement speed. Could also, instead of movement speed, you could take reduced effect of curses if you don't really care about the movement speed. But the character's going to be pretty slow with, I think... Alright, I forgot. Don't have the attributes. That's another thing. Mageblood makes your attributes easier. You can't... you need, like... Well... If you're not running Grace, but you need like 120 Dex or something, I think, and like 130 Strength or something. Or no, it's like 114 Strength. No, it's because where is it? Yeah, Vitality. Well, you can get like one level lower Vitality or something, but you can get like, I think it's like 120 Strength, 120 Dex is what you need for the build, and then like 300 Int, but you're gonna have enough Int anyway. The Int is fine. So without Mageblood, you do need like strength and dex on your gear, plus like on like your clusters to make it work, which I've done in the POB. But again, I think this version of the build it's almost better than running Mageblood in terms of defenses. I think in terms of defenses, this is actually the better setup. I think this is actually better. But in terms of offense, this is almost double damage because it allows you to hit that 10.1 attack speed. There probably is a way to lose some defenses, but like you're so passive starved, I don't think it's actually possible to get that much attack speed otherwise on the tree. Maybe you can get a because Imperial Skein is already the fastest dagger. You'd have to use like Essence attack speed. Yeah, you would have to use Essence attack speed, which would make rolling the prefixes on the dagger harder. That would be like the only way to hit that 10.0 attack speed without the Mageblood Onslaught Flask. Because this is like 40% attack speed. So what you basically need is to somehow find about like 45% attack speed if you're using a 1.9 Imperial Skein. But if you somehow get like a 2.0 Imperial Skein, I think it's like 1.98 or something when you have 30% attack speed. I don't know exactly. I don't know what the base attack speed is, but I think if you have that and you need like a bit less attack speed, maybe then it's possible. But then you still need like these boots with 50% CDR. You need the jewel here with the 3% cooldown recovery. You need a level 6 Awakened Council and Critical Strike, which is like, how much is that right now? It's not even that expensive. Never mind. It's like 6 divine, because then you can get like +3 level whatnot. I don't think it's worth. Like if you have like 50 divine, you can make this build more or less like this with the Tides of Time belt and then make these flasks. You have to hit 50% charge recovery, by the way, on these. Otherwise, you will not be able to upkeep the flasks. You do need. This is like the most efficient prefix for the flasks. It's better than, and you don't want multiple flask charge on crit, because the cooldown is limited is like shared between flasks. So it'll end up, it rolls basically these flasks and then it picks the one that rolled it first, basically. So I would only get it on one flask, and I would get it on the hardest, the one that uses the most charges. And that one is any of these 4. But I think the crit flask is the most important one to keep like your crit chance up. So I think this is more important. These ones will all automatically be at 100%. You can even check in the I think in the POV you can see. Yeah, it's here. Flask uptime 100%, 100%, 100%. This doesn't say 100%, but this is 100% because you will be gaining like 10 flask charges a second. So, and this is also 100%. So these flasks are always up. And then you just put like reuse at the end of the flask's effect. You do need on your body armor, instead of the 21 crit multi, you get the flask gain a charge every 3 seconds modifier. You do need that. So that's like the only difference. But like if you check again, the max hit is higher on the Tides of Time build. But your effective hit pool is much lower because you're not evading attacks and stuff. So I think this is a great place to start. It works more than well enough. It's still like almost 30 million DPS, and it's like less than half the cost. I would just start here. Again, you don't even need like these crazy rings either, because you can just like look how much overcapped res. Like you just turn off the bismuth. Like you can even turn off the bismuth. But like here you can see like we're 130 over. You just don't need res on any of your gear, like with this setup, because you just get it all from flasks. The only difference being that where is it? I'm trying to think for a second. I think if your Alchemist Genius runs out, it's not 100% uptime. Yeah, okay, so obviously while you're killing stuff in maps, you're always going to have 100% uptime, but like against bosses, because of how this works, you might want to piano your flasks at the start so that they're not all triggering at the same time. Because if they're always triggering at the same time, your Alchemist Genius will fall off. But as long as you're hitting the boss, your stamina flask will be ping-ponging like crazy. It'll almost like every second it'll be chug, so then you'll have it up 100% of the time. So it's a bit finicky, but generally speaking, you're just gonna have it up. And here, like as we saw, like we were actually getting like 18% shock, so it's actually a bit more damage than this. The thing is that because shock is increased damage taken, withered is increased damage taken, like nerved is increased damage taken. All these different increased damage taken like mods, because we have so many of them, the increased effect of shock and all that kind of stuff just doesn't do as much, because we are taking like, because we don't need the +3 crits. You can just take increased effect of non-damaging elements. So like this also increases like our, like how like the magnitude of shock. I mean, that's more or less it, I think. It was a really fun build to play. And like theory craft. Like I farmed my Mageblood using like the Tides of Time version. Like I made all 115 divines using this build, doing 25 Harbinger strands with Delirium on like any map mod that I could run. Like the only map mods I didn't run were Cannot Leech, Reduce Recovery Rate of ES, and I think there was some other. There's probably some other one. Maybe minus max res. Maybe I think maybe that one. But no, I think I ran the minus max res because we had increased max res from the flasks already. I don't think there's much else that I was running. I don't think. Not much else is crazy. Oh yeah, one last thing. There is a setup here where you put Unnatural Instinct here, Light of Meaning here, put the Watcher's Eye back down here, and then remove the CB Jewel and put Storm Shroud in the CB Jewel, which would give me like almost like 2,000 ES, and it'd be about like a 10 million DPS upgrade. But Light of Meaning is like 60 divine right now, and I just don't really want to farm for it right now. yeah, there's definitely a Light of Meaning percent ES with Unnatural Instinct combo here. That would be really, 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 really strong. It would also give you these AoE effects here, plus the skill effect duration. The regen life nodes would be nice. Bit of extra life and strength. Some more int. Would be quite good. But I don't feel like farming for it. Maybe they're even like 70 divines now. They just keep going up because no one's playing the game anymore. So like, there's definitely that. That's the one more upgrade that you could do. And again, like these boots could have like 100 more ES. And then the shield could be a +1 power charge shield. You could get synth rings with power charge, then a Calandra's Reflect. You could do some crazy shit like that. Because you don't need the 27 Chaos Res. I know you do. You kind of do need that. But like you could drop with like 2 more power charges because of Calandra's Touch. If you get like a power charge ring with spell damage for power charge and stuff, like you mirror it, you could drop the Diamond Flask and pick up an Amethyst Flask instead, and then you don't need to worry about Chaos Res anymore, and then you just get a bunch of res on the ring, and then you're done. And then you just take the recoup again. Yeah, I mean, I think that's more or less what you would want to do. Pretty crazy. Like there's definitely you could easily throw like a few more 100 div in this, or way more than that. You could throw in like a couple mirrors into this and get some really crazy results. You could easily get like I think it would be over 100 million DPS if you did that. But yeah, I think this is where I'm more or less gonna stop with the build. I'm not gonna put more time into it, especially because it's probably not gonna exist next patch anyway, because of GGG not to keep being Scavenger around. So yeah, that's more or less the build that I wanted to show, and I hope you enjoyed it.